Hello, my name is Will Evans. I work here at Purdue Recwell as a wellness coach.
And my name is Ryan Witt, and I'm also a wellness coach here at Purdue Recwell.
And today we're going to talk about another wellness topic that you can practice at home during this time of change. And right now we're going to discuss dealing with that change, right? I want to touch a little bit on just our general mental perspective taking, right? So there are a couple of thought patterns or mentalities that we may want to avoid. One that we talk about a lot is just pessimism, right? And I think pessimism can be tricky because it can seem like it's a defense mechanism, but sometimes it's not, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes we put up these walls of defense for pessimism. We say, oh, it's probably not going to work out anyway, so that when the time comes and we actually get that less than satisfactory news or result, then the sting of that isn't quite as powerful, right? But all the while, we're kind of crossing our fingers behind our back, kind of thinking, oh wow, I really hope this does work out. And if it does, I can be pleasantly surprised, right? So that in of itself, I'm not going to necessarily call that a bad thing, but if you do that habitually, it can become, I guess, like a self-fulfilling prophecy where we think something's going to be bad, we don't put in the effort to change it, and it ends up being bad. And so when things are changing like this, we have to be willing to adapt and try new things. We have to have kind of a growth mindset about it instead of just saying, well, there's nothing I can do, fixed mindset, is probably going to be horrible. Not because it was meant to be, but because we didn't really put in any effort to change things, right? So as we're going through this transition, I think a helpful tip would just be put your best foot forward, see what you can take control in, what aspects of the new environment can you change, and don't have a fixed mindset, but kind of remain adaptable and flexible.
You know, you're going to have different exams, different assignments that are turning into something you've probably never experienced, and kind of catastrophizing the situation and thinking, okay, I'm going to do horrible on this because I've never actually had to turn something like this in before. I think all of us, we've done Scantrons, we've done essays, we've turned those things in, but I think a lot of teachers here at Purdue are going to be looking for some unique ways to, adapt their class. So just thinking positive about these new assignments or these new formats is something that can hopefully change that negative mindset and keep you on track.
Just catastrophizing. I think it's really easy to do that, especially in this environment, right? It's important not to overgeneralize, right? We can take the advice of maybe Purdue leaders and government leaders right now, but it would not be recommended to take what they're saying and blow it out of proportion, right? I think catastrophizing is an instantaneous way to increase internal stress for us, which is not going to be helpful in a time like this. And so what ways or what strategies have you found to help people decatastrophize a situation?
Yeah, so one example I always give my clients is that I can remember the first big exam I had here at Purdue at Elliott Hall, and I walked in with about 400 other people for my anatomy exam, and I sat down, looked at the first exam question, and I just blanked. And I'm like, I don't know this, I don't know any of this, I don't know anatomy, why am I here at Purdue? And it just started to snowball and snowball. And I just took my first thought and I compared it to my last thought in that snowball effect. And I just had to take a minute and just kind of laugh at how I got from point A to point B. Just taking a minute to see where you started off and where you ended in that short period of time, and then just realizing, it didn't have to escalate that fast,
right?
And that, your mind and might be kind of tricking you into thinking those negative thoughts.
Right. So switching gears, what positive things can we do to help us cope with change?
Yeah, I think setting your routine and making sure that you stick with that throughout this change is something that can, have a real positive impact on not only your mental health, but just everything throughout your life in general. Because in a change, you're going to have to adapt.
Maybe there are new people in your environment now, right? And they have different expectations for you, or maybe you just need to share your expectations with them so they know, hey, for me, this is what I need for a productive work environment. Now that I'm going to be either maybe you're in your residence hall room for longer than normal, or maybe you're back at home, right, with family and friends who don't quite know your personal study habits, right? So sharing those expectations with them and then finding a space where you can live out those expectations, right? Any last minute tips for viewers?
Setting up something, I know we talked a lot about short-term small goals along the way, but having one nice long-term goal that you can really look at throughout your time. For myself, I wanted to get into a couple different grad schools, so I just printed out the logo of the schools that I wanted to get into and I put it up on my door, so I knew every morning it was just kind of staring me in the face that if I want to be productive and I want to keep moving forward and eventually reach that goal, I have to get up and do what I need to do that day. So having something that can keep you motivated throughout your time, and that's just one small way that you can do that. So
Yeah. If you want more tips and tricks on how to deal with change, you can look in the description below. There are some links to some helpful resources.